Go.
All right, normally we have Mark Kenzier introduce our speaker for tonight. Since the speaker is everyone in the room potentially, we're not going to do that. But I did want to thank Alan and Cheryl Kaplan for coming up with the idea for the Solar Eclipse Roundtable. So.
All right.
All right.
So they should lead it. That's better.
We're at 80s elephants again.
He's just not sure. Is he showing up over here? Yeah. I don't know why he's not showing up. He should be showing up.
It's been going on and off.
See, he does this. Won't do the rest.
One time I don't bring anything to Joe.
Let that be a lesson to you, Jeff.
There's some equipment up here.
Can you juggle telescopes?
Oh yeah, there's like those chintzy flashlights.
There
you go.
Something's
Yeah, but that's unnecessarily. There we go, we are, okay. All right, let's talk about the eclipse real quickly, and then we'll have a round discussion.
Keep your voice up, Ken. Since
Okay,
we're
now, across the continental United States on August 21st, this event will be the first total solar eclipse observed in the continental United States since 1979. It will stretch across the country from Oregon on to South Carolina. Question is, where do you go? In order to see totality, you must be in the path marked on the map. You will get to see the eclipse anywhere in the United States, but only along this path will you observe totality. It will not be wise to drive to the path on the day of the eclipse. There will be plenty of people who think this is a good idea. Every individual at all interested will be on the road that day. There are a lot of major cities along the pathway, including Nashville, Tennessee, Casper, Wyoming, Columbia, South Carolina, Hamlin, Kansas, East St. Louis, Illinois, Carbondale, Illinois. It will cross over many cities, however, and many more motels that will charge you unconscionable rates. If any of them actually have any rooms left to rent.
Hey, Ken,
Yes.
I still maintain that your traffic thing is a speculation.
It is highly speculative, and I may be wrong.
I think
But
maybe.
I don't want to get the surprise that I'm right. And neither do you. Okay, just to take a look. The eclipse starts in Oregon.
Oregon.
Oregon, yeah.
Bless your hearts.
Yeah, just the Oregon trip.
If you notice on that path, that little black dot goes across. It moves through Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. In order to get the longest, best view, it is best to be on the center line. Totality at its maximum will be 2 minutes and 40 seconds near Carbondale, Illinois. But along the center line, it will be as short as 2 minutes long when it touches the coast of Oregon, but will still be 2 minutes and 30 seconds long when it leaves the coast in South Carolina. Obviously, the most important issue is to consider to be where the weather is clear enough to see the sun. Fortunately, weather prospects in summer are pretty good. What you might have to do is drive along the eclipse path in order to catch up to the areas of minimal clouds. The recommendation is to plan to sleep in your car and drive to where the prospects look good for weather the day before. As far as accommodations are concerned, plan for them to be very expensive with scant availability. You may consider the option of reserving your hotel room somewhere out of the path and driving to the path the day before. Understand that the length of the eclipse is shorter when you are not on the center line. The most important thing is to see the event, even if it isn't as long as on the center line. 25 seconds of total solar eclipse is better than none. I've seen 10 total eclipses, and also went to see 2 others which were clouded out. Again, I've seen annual eclipses and all different types. None of these events compares to the experience of a total solar eclipse. It is a bucket list item, without question. Total solar eclipses occur every year somewhere on the Earth. If you miss this one, you can see another, but you will have to travel a greater distance to observe it, and out of the U.S. There will be another one in the United States in 2024, which will actually come close to Detroit. It will be during the winter time, so the weather prospects aren't as good.
It's
However,
April.
the totality of that
April.
eclipse, what's that?
April.
April showers.
Yeah, April, right. Totality for that one will be 4 minutes long as opposed to the 2 minutes and 30 seconds this. Now, I always tell people one thing. Alan Kaplan, who's sitting right there in the middle of the room, after he saw his first eclipse in Aruba, he said to me these words. He said, "You have been telling me about how spectacular eclipses are for many years. After seeing this one, I have to admit, I had no idea." So if you've not seen one, and of course, once again, the first question one asks when they see a total eclipse for the very first time is, when is the next one? Okay, so what we're going to talk about is this shows you a picture of how the eclipse moves across the United States, and you're going to see the pathway itself. Now, the path can theoretically be up to 166 miles wide. This one is about 70 miles wide. The shadow will be traveling at 2,979 miles per hour at landfall in Oregon and 1,450 miles per hour at Carbondale. You want to be the first to see it? Be at Yaquina Head, Oregon at 10:57 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, just above Newport. Totality will cross 29 pairs of towns or cities with the same name. The most populated pair are Columbia, Missouri, and Columbia, South Carolina. It will also cover 3 trios of cities with the same name: Benton in Kentucky, Illinois, and Tennessee, Cleveland in Tennessee, Georgia, and South Carolina, and Marion in Oregon, Illinois, and Kentucky. The number of people living in the path of totality is 12.25 million, but 2 out of 5 people, 120 million people living in the continental U.S., live within 300 miles of totality. How would you like to be on the road with all them? 5.5% of the total area of the continental U.S. will be completely immersed within the moon's umbra. It will touch 14 states, just barely touching Montana and Iowa. So just kind of take a look at this particular illustration. This is at about 100 kilometers up. You can see the difference in the path width, the speed, how long the duration is as it's increasing, and what time it is at what place in what state. This is a pretty good, now, notice one thing really nice about this particular eclipse. Lots of east-west routes.
Yes.
And the point is that you want to be in a place where you can get along the path. Now, the eclipse over here is going to be a little shorter. You can even see it, you see? But again, it won't be that much shorter. So anywhere along that 60 to 70 mile wide thing, you want to be in there, and you'll get to see it, and it's very, very nice. But you can see how it's now increasing. There's Jefferson City. We're at 2 minutes and 39 seconds, and you will see shortly where Carbondale comes up. This is about the middle of the eclipse, right here. And it's getting a little bit longer.
Carbondale.
There's Carbondale.
Okay.
Is that a YouTube video or what is that?
It's made by the,
It's an MP4, but you can find it.
I think they have it on YouTube too.
I
Okay.
can find it? Oh.
they have a whole website, greatamericaneclipse.com. This is their official video.
Upper right corner says the website on our screen up there.
Yeah, right up here, greatamericaneclipse.com, right.
Oh, okay.
And there it is going through Georgia. Now understand now that when we're talking about weather prospects, the best weather prospects are in Oregon, and the next best are in Wyoming and around Carbondale. We have a good chance of seeing them. And there he goes right on out. This thing, you can see it's still 2 minutes and 34 seconds long when you get out there.
Here's the worst weather prospects on the east
Oh,
coast.
they're horrible
Yes.
out there. All right, So that kind of gives you an idea of it. I think there's one more thing here that I have here. No, that's next. This is the next one, by the way, in case you're interested. July 10th. All right, so there you go. Diane, you're
All right.
play.
So, one thing is that if you've not yet made your travel plans and you would like to be enticed by a travel deal, I did see that Spirit Airlines, not my favorite airline in the world, is offering discounted flights to 3 locations near the eclipse path, Oregon, Columbia, South Carolina, or Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Kansas City, Missouri. So, unfortunately, they are not going to be booking your hotel room or your rental car, which is a problem. But if you have not made a decision,
Stay at the airport.
yeah,
There's-
stay at the airport.
There's another option that Ken is gonna show you some pictures of that's a little bit more expensive, but
So before we proceed, who has seen a total solar eclipse?
Not.
Who has? Okay, 1, 2, hands high. Can't see over the computers, I'm short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, quite a few. Okay, keep your hands up. Who's seen an annular solar eclipse? Keep your hands up. Who's seen a partial? Okay, so basically most people in the room have had some degree of experience with eclipse watching. And those of us who have only seen the annular or the partial still don't know what we are doing. So we're, those of you who I consider to be veteran total solar eclipse watchers, and yes, 1 makes you a veteran, let's start with you all as far as any sort of advice that people are not likely to get from the media, from talks that we've already seen, from common sense. Yep.
so this is Ken's dentist has a lead on a private plane that for less than the cost of the travel and hotel reservations can get you to the eclipse path and back home in time for dinner. So it is an option. If you have not yet made plans, it's a pretty appealing option.
Jim?
I talked yesterday, there's 4 of us going down to Carbondale, and I talked to the gal down there that's coordinating the event at their environmental center. She told me that they had a few openings yet. For
Excellent.
anybody interested, I have her name and contact information if you want to try that. I can't guarantee anything, but this was just 2 days ago.
2 days ago, wonderful. That
I don't know if
is-
they had cancellations or what, but
her name is again, I'm pretty sure.
Kayla,
Kayla?
Kayla Cole.
Oh, that is not the person Alan Linden gave me. I think he gave you Paula Feinberg.
This is an event at the SIE is about 10 miles south of Carbondale, which is right in the middle of the path.
If you could mail that to me, Jim, that would be nice.
Okay, I can try to do that.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so any advice from veteran eclipse watchers?
One piece of advice. One piece of advice. This is your first total solar eclipse, right? Nobody cares about the pictures you take.
I just went and bought this for nothing.
Get a lawn chair. Lay it down on the ground. Sit back in the lawn chair facing the earth. Watch the shadow come across the planet.
Yeah, that's all I
Watch the eclipse. You can use binoculars or a telescope, it's just fine. You can get a little bit into it. Watch it. Your memory will remember that event. If you are screwing around with a camera, you will miss the event. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to see this thing.
You're here.
You can buy pictures.
You're
You can get videos. There'll be lots of people wasting their time doing that. Lots and lots of them.
You used to do that.
I used to do it, but I learned. The last eclipse that I took pictures of was in China, but I only did video. I did no still pictures at all. And I let the cameras, the 2 of them, you've seen the result of them. I let them run. I wasn't screwing around with the camera. Watch the eclipse. I promise you, you will never regret that piece of advice. Watch the person that did the best of anybody I've ever met was my wife in Aruba. My wife took a lawn chair, just like I said, and she watched the eclipse. And she saw it better than anybody else there that was clicking away on a camera. understand the thing about an eclipse. I'm sorry to do this, but let me say something about the
No,
eclipse.
you're not.
No, you're
The
not.
camera cannot, I'm not really, yeah, the camera cannot see what your eye can see. Your eye sees the entire range of the visible spectrum. That means that you get to see the corona, you get to see the red chromosphere, you get to see the prominences all at once. The camera can either see the prominences or the corona, not both. Okay? And there's no picture that you will ever see, no matter how composite, will ever do it any justice. That corona will stretch 7 to 10 diameters across. It will dazzle you. Don't use a camera. Watch the eclipse. Best piece of advice you'll ever get.
Ken, point of order.
Amen.
Safe, filtered solar telescope until totality
Right.
starts.
Let me tell you, the point is on the surface of the sun, the photosphere. Every point on the photosphere is as bright as the entire sun. If you look at it, at the photosphere with your eye, as we get to totality, it'll appear to be easy to look at because the overall brightness will appear to be it. But that photosphere is dangerous, and the point that you get, that you injure yourself, has nothing to do with radiant energy. It has to do with brightness. That's what ruins your eyesight, and you will have forever a tiny crescent to look at with whatever you look at. So during partial eclipse, make sure you're filtered. Number 12, welder's glass, or one of these glass, fine. And the last piece of advice of them all, now shut up after that, is do not watch the total solar eclipse with the solar glasses,
That, I was going
because
to
you
bring
will
that up.
miss the eclipse, all right?
Very good, Ken. Jose, you had a question.
Yeah, don't use your camera. Use your eyes. It's
Yes.
better.
Right.
Those are the better eyepiece than ever. You know that everybody got it.
Alan,
Question, Ken, when do you take off your solar glasses
As soon
or
as
your solar
as
filter?
soon as Bailey's beads and diamond ring effect starts.
so for the benefit of those who have not seen your presentation, watched multiple videos, how would we know?
You'll know, you'll see it's bright, it'll be hard to look at, let's put it that way, and you won't look at it. But then you'll suddenly see the corona brighten up. I wasn't gonna talk anymore. You're gonna see the corona brighten up with this little diamond that looked like at the last vestiges of the sun going through the moon, the mountains of the moon, and then the corona will light up. That's the diamond ring effect, and as I've said before, once my wife knew there were diamond rings involved, she was sold on it. But again, that will start to happen, and you can look at that, because it's only gonna take a second or two. And then, you can also avert your eye and still see it. You don't have to stare right at it. You can look a little bit off of it, and you're not gonna get damaged by it by that point in time. By that time, it's gonna be, the last couple of seconds won't damage your eye.
So Fred yells filters off when Bailey's beads come?
Pretty much, because the cameras will be able to do it better than you will, actually, at the point of Bailey's beads coming in. Your eyes, you may not want to, you know.
Second point I think everybody should hear. What about taking pictures without that solar filter? You'll ruin the camera?
No.
You might.
No.
Can you hurt the camera?
No. You won't be able to see anything. It'll blare it out. You won't see it. So don't even think about it. You know, the point is that when your eye is able to see the diamond ring effect, so is your camera.
You mean going up to that point?
Yeah.
He's afraid.
You're not gonna be able to look at it anymore.
But it's not, yeah,
Then
it's
you
not
ruin the
totality.
camera.
The camera's just gonna blow out the.
Well,
If
let's
you're-
hear what Bob
No,
has
if
to
you're
say.
not at totality, if you try to take pictures without a solar filter, you will destroy your camera.
Yeah, right.
That's what I thought.
Exactly.
That's what I
No, you're not gonna, your camera won't be able to do it anyway. So it'll.
Well,
Well, you
Yeah,
could do it, Ken,
won't
if
because you'll
you're
you'll
young.
destroy it.
Burn a hole in the diaphragm.
Yeah, you'll burn a hole in your diaphragm like
Yeah,
your
you
old film
just,
cameras.
yeah.
You'll
The
burn a hole in your
idea is
curtains.
take the pictures of
Melt
diamond
the
ring, and
inside.
that's about it.
What, in thousandths of a second?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you're not doing it, you gotta understand, that if you got the diamond ring effect, there's the point right there.
Yeah, we have a couple of hands in the back.
Go.
You in the structure?
So, sorry, diamond ring and Bailey's beads still not a still do some sort of filter, no
Yeah.
binocular, like it's not safe to look at with any kind of
But if you're
power.
seeing, if you're looking
You can.
at your eyes and you just look off, look, there's plenty of pictures of diamond ring effect. And there's plenty of pictures of, and nobody lost their camera, and Bailey's.
No, I'm saying if I have a set of binoculars, can I observe that, or that's too?
No, I would not use my binoculars on that.
Okay.
No.
Why not?
No,
Why not?
binoculars would be- No.
It's dangerous
What's that?
Yeah,
with binoculars?
Yeah.
yeah.
And by the way, if you're gonna wear solar filters on the binoculars
Yeah.
or in a telescope, don't put them at your eye, put them on the outside.
Yes,
Okay.
very
All
important.
right.
Remember that, because if you put them in your eyes, the magnification's
Put them
gonna,
on the big end.
you lose the whole
Okay.
thing. Jim, you had something?
Thank you.
Oh, we had a question
So,
there.
what comes first, Bailey's beads or diamond ring?
What's that? You're gonna see Bailey's beads first.
Okay. Is that,
You can actually see Bailey's beads with your filter on. Because you
so
can see it, you know.
for someone who's not well versed in astronomy, what's Bailey's beads again?
Bailey's beads are the are when the moon is not even.
Yeah.
It's got mountains. So Bailey's beads are actually the last parts of the sun coming through that, and you can see it, you can see Bailey's beads while you're filtered. You can see where the openings are.
To facilitate discussion, let's have a few more veterans, if they wish to, on some advice that Ken's not covered, and then to have the questions proceed in an orderly fashion. Let's get the questions up on a board, and that way the people answering them can come up, be filmed by the camera, everybody can hear them, and we can cover it there. So do we have any more pieces of advice? Yes, Mr. Ross.
Yeah, I'm going to say what half of you do not want to hear as you pay $300 a night quadruple occupancy at some place. Be prepared to run for it. Now I know if you're going to fly into Kansas City or something on the Learjet, you're stuck. But at least that pilot can make a decision where to go, maybe. But speaking with great authority, some of it unhappy, they had to run for it to see the eclipse. You know, it's very nice to think you're going to be at the, the Beverly Wiltshire with, massage service, but 5 or 6 hours before the eclipse, you may very well get the news you are not going to see it there. So I guess you're just going to have to sleep in the back seat of an old Ford, right? I'm only being slightly sarcastic. I've been there. It's come, I won't go into the war story. In the 1972 eclipse, we came within a centimeter of missing that bugger. And we were running like crazy. We were running out of dry land.
We can't see you on the film.
On the film?
People
If you're answering
stand
questions,
forward.
please stand in the middle.
Stand in the middle so we can.
Oh, I didn't know that. As we say in theater, is this my spot?
Yeah.
Right?
Hold on, brief candle.
Now it's okay.
On a happier note, much happier note, if you are on a concrete surface, even wooden, some plain, light-colored surface, when the diamond ring comes, look down. You might see the shadow bands. Seen them once. It depends on atmosphere, but shadow bands are highly ephemeral, they don't last long, and they can be seen like ripples going across the surface. It's a fascinating diffraction effect. As the crescent gets tinier and tinier and tinier, it becomes a slit. And then with Bailey's beads, you have these point sources, and you have interference patterns. But shadow bands can be quite interesting to see, albeit briefly.
About how brief, Gary?
What I can remember from '73 was they might have lasted 20 seconds.
20 to 30 seconds is about it.
Right, more advice from veterans. Yes, Mr. Blum, come on
I'm
up.
only a veteran of seeing a clouded out eclipse, but
Come on.
the advice I have is if you have the SkySafari app, which is, I think, the most in-depth of our many apps that you can hold up your iPhone and it tells you what's in the sky. Suddenly, a few days ago, an update automatically came to my SkySafari app, and there was a little picture of an eclipse at the bottom with all the other icons of the different things the SkySafari app can do. So I clicked on it to see what happens, and it lets you put in whatever location you're going to be at for this eclipse, and it tells you the exact minute and second that the partial eclipse starts at that location, that the total starts at that location, the total ends at that location, and the partial ends at that location. So it's a new feature in the SkySafari app that just appeared.
You don't have to, if you don't have SkySafari, you still get it for free. Just go to either the Android Play Store or the Apple version, and it's called Eclipse Safari. It's free, and I've got it on my, if somebody wants to see it, I've got it on my phone. And it gives you the path, the time.
screen.
Oh, there it is, yeah. It gives you the path, the time, a whole bunch of information about the eclipses, and also the day of the eclipse. It'll be the live feed from NASA, so you can see on your phone. If you're clouded out, it won't be, right? But if it's clouded out, you can see it on your phone.
Excellent.
I got a question and a comment.
Well, we were gonna do the questions up on the board,
Okay.
so make sure
Well,
that they're all,
Are you ready to put it on the board?
I wanna make sure that any other veteran eclipse chasers have any advice? Good, bad, happy, unhappy? Yes, Alan?
I just want to say that if everybody is talking about you want to be ready to run, and I agree, that's always the risk. You do also, this is your spot. In Aruba, it was cloudy, 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 and then just a few minutes before the eclipse started, it cleared up. So,
Heart-shaped cloud.
it was a heart-shaped cloud that opened up, that's right, the space opened up. So, if you're not able to run, don't give up too quick.
Excellent.
Can I just say, you know, it's gonna be 2024, the next eclipse, so if we miss this one, another one's coming, right? And
Yes.
and that one is close to Detroit.
It'll be
And much
close
more
to
likely to be
Toledo.
cloudy because of its,
It's
Well,
gonna be-
but yeah, but it also goes through
Okay.
the south, so it's.
Not going into a free-for-all about Toledo 2024.
Okay, but I just want, my point is that it's not the end of the world if you
No,
miss
it's
it.
not the end.
And-
And
and-
if you
and,
wanna go see one, you can see one in July next year, you
Yeah.
can see one in the following years,
Cheryl?
Yeah. Make sure you have set your watch and the clock on your computer and whatever else you are using, precisely. Like go online and, go to the atomic clock, whatever, and set it. Because you don't want to think that a particular thing is going to happen in a minute and have it be passed before you realize you misset your watch.
For local time.
And for local time, right.
Excellent. Any sort of physical concerns to worry about? And as speaking as somebody who got a bit toasted by the sun during the transit of Venus, is that, yes,
you know?
Yeah, a hat.
hat?
I was trying to do checking exposures the other day, and I was just dying from the heat. And I got a hat, and I put it on, and I immediately got a lot cooler. So it's a good idea.
I mean, this is an outdoor activity, so like with the transit of Venus, a hat, sunblock, water.
Yeah.
So during,
Lots of water.
Water.
That's a good
So-
one.
Hydrate.
this might not be the best because it's dark and it's going to get pretty hot itself, but a hood like this will help a lot in protecting your face. So in the transit of Venus in 2012, I was looking through a telescope the whole time, and so we have actually Diane has a personal solar telescope, which is the small solar telescope, and we got a shield for it from Scope Stuff that literally is just a rectangle of sheet metal, and it costs about $20 and they ship in 2 days, so if you have a PST, make sure you get one of those from Scope Stuff. I did not have that in 2012, so when I got back to the hotel that night, my arm was on fire, this arm was on fire, I was like two-faced. This side was entirely red, this half was entirely white, so don't be like me. So cover yourself one way or another.
Yeah, we're going to be in some very hot places in one of the hottest months of the year, so see to your health.
It's gonna cool down. In totality. It's gonna cool down about 15 to 20 degrees.
Yeah, for a couple minutes.
That's it.
Now, Gary mentioned the shadow bands, but one of the fun things that I'm looking forward to this time is, of course, as the eclipse approaches and you get a nice crescent sun, find a tree, if you've got any trees, find something to project crescent shadows onto the floor, onto the palm of your hand.
Colander.
Colander, kitchen colander.
Hole punch and a piece of paper works too, but the more holes the better, so you can get this wonderful sparkly effect. Teresa Aldania, one of our members, could not be here tonight, but we were reminiscing on Monday night with her about a partial eclipse that went through Michigan back in the 90s. And she happened to be out and about that day, walking under a tree, and then suddenly, it was a precise moment where all the sunbeams crystallized into little crescents on the ground. So it's pretty magical. All right, any other advice from veteran observers before we skip to the Q&A? Don't be shy. All right, Jonathan, you want to moderate the question and answer section?
All right, questions. Jim Shidlowski, what is your question? And then we'll...
This is not a question, it's an observation, and I didn't hear any category that you up to this point, but for those, and I know you don't want to talk about the 7 years from now, but that eclipse goes right across Carbondale, same place, so we will give you a report of the arrangements down there, perhaps, you know, if we have a good experience down there, that's something you guys who are talking about 7 years from now may want to take a thing.
That will be beneficial. Thank you, Jim. Jeff.
Should I take pictures? My actual question is about what will be visible in the sky as far as planets and
Mars
stars?
will be up,
Hey,
Mercury will be lit, and
no,
Venus.
no, we're doing them all in one thing. And after Bob's hand was next.
Okay, people are going to these different locations. Should they plan on being able to go to a restaurant or the grocery store and buy food?
Ooh, good point,
I know we can't.
Yeah.
good point.
Wait, what?
Save the
People who are going, you know, to these locations,
Will there be food
should they
riots?
plan to be able to go into a restaurant and get a meal, or go into a grocery store and find groceries there?
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Question?
when you're looking around during total eclipse, what does the horizon look like? Can you see illuminated in the distance 70 miles away where the sun is shining? Or can you see clouds that are illuminated
Yes.
during the peak of the total? I mean, close to the middle of where the total is.
What does the horizon look like? That's
Yeah,
good.
what's the horizon?
What's the horizon look like?
I'll do it. Go ahead, I'll have that for you when you're ready to answer.
I am writing right where you project.
Next question. Yes, Brian.
It's, because we're very close to solar minimum, will the corona be less bright, less you know, smaller in size, perhaps, you know, less active, whatever?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Because we're close to solar minimum, will the corona be less impressive?
Yeah, not as big, not as bright.
Will there be less prominences?
Yes.
Yeah, that too.
I'm not allowed to answer
Next question.
Are we allowed to ask photography questions?
Sure.
Only if you've seen an eclipse before.
Oh.
Or your hand slap.
Next month.
Does anybody have a quick favorite polar alignment technique in daylight? And how close do you have to get?
Mike or Dad had a question?
What's the maximum coverage here?
Maximum coverage here in Metro Detroit.
7.
All right.
So I have a question. How much better is an 80% eclipse, to give away my question, how much better is an 80% eclipse than a 10%
And
eclipse?
Ken Burton's not allowed to.
All right. Let's get one more up there. We've got a nice batch of questions, about 20 minutes to dig into them, and some of them might get lengthy, so any,
One more small one.
sure.
how often do we have a total eclipse here, for example? When is the next one in Detroit?
In Detroit?
Goes along with the question. Similar.
Actually, I have
Has
one
anybody
question.
figured it out?
Assuming the rest of your family relatives aren't going, they're gonna stay here, what should you tell them when they should go out and look? Or what should you tell them about how to be prepared so they can
See a partial eclipse.
yeah, partial eclipse?
Good question,
How much can they see?
good question.
One more question.
One more.
And it's a leading question. What kind of solar eclipse glasses should we get?
Actually, that's a good question, because we keep getting asked that. All right, so let us take it from the top. What will be visible during the eclipse in terms of sky objects? Who wants to take that one first?
Fred Espinac says anything first magnitude.
Come on up.
Yeah. Fred Espinac says first magnitude or brighter, anything that can reach that standard.
So theoretically, Venus, Mercury, Mars,
All right,
planets,
let me flash
And
this.
will they be
first
out?
magnitude
Will they be
stars.
out?
Let me flash this up.
Well, you would have to check the app.
They are.
Yeah.
Mars,
Mars should
Mercury,
be.
Venus.
Regular.
Mars and Mercury are gonna be very close to the sun. Venus will be far away and the brightest thing in the sky, so for sure Venus.
Venus is like 30 degrees. Anybody know?
There it is, right there. There you are. There's totality.
Pull it down for a sec, John.
Bring down the thing. This is totality of cast.
Okay.
Is Venus gonna be brighter than Mercury?
Venus will be up.
So
Okay,
Venus is up there,
Mars is
Procyon.
close and Mercury is.
So it's right in the middle of Leo, so you'll see the line of Leo.
Can you calibrate that map at all?
It's hard to compare, yeah.
No. I'm just saying, is Venus 30 degrees away or 5 degrees?
35, 34
35,
degrees.
okay, thank you.
This is an 80 degree by 56 degree
Yeah,
field.
okay, thanks.
The sun, the one's half a
Right on
degree.
top of Regulus.
Well, I
It's right
didn't,
on top of Leo.
yeah, I didn't see the
That's
constellation
one
here,
in the sky.
that does it.
There's some interesting
No
shots
sand.
of Regulus in the field of view.
Of course,
I think Regulus might be blocked out by the corona.
and one piece of advice that I have heard is don't go looking for the stupid planets, look at the sun.
Yeah.
I will probably not be able to resist that piece of advice.
Hey, you can just briefly go.
But I've never seen Mars during a total solar eclipse.
Exactly, I know.
And you
Okay,
may never again.
Jeff, are you satisfied with question one?
Yeah.
Okay, question two. Should people plan to be able to obtain food during the eclipse riots?
Riots.
Actually, I have a related question. Is there any case where roads have been blocked by eclipse watchers?
Oh, I'm sure.
Can anyone provide a substantiated account of a
No.
significant highway being blocked? Yes, Jim?
There was a detailed description of that whole situation in I think, astronomy last month. They talked about the fact that this is the first time that this has happened in, going all the way across the country in modern times. The last one was 1918. So they said this will be kind of a unique experience because of the population and the transportation systems and so on and so forth.
On the other, so we did have in 2010 a total solar eclipse go through Mumbai and Bangkok and, well, maybe not, but Beijing and Mumbai at least. So between the two, you have 50 million people. Granted, it's a lot more public
I
transportation.
was gonna point that out.
So the U.S. is curiously absent public transportation. Has there been a total solar eclipse in Europe in modern years?
Oh, yeah. Right, about 15 years ago. In France.
One went across Turkey, one went across,
So were there eclipse riots?
no.
Could people find food?
Not a matter of getting the food.
They get off the
I
highway.
go mad with fear.
My point was getting the food is if you're gonna have to pick up a move to chase it, you probably should bring some food with you. You know,
That's a
water,
good
food
point.
with you.
Yes, John?
Depends on the size of the city you're going to. I'm going to a town with a population of 6,000 and are expecting 100,000 people there. So there's no way that you can get into a grocery store or a restaurant. But if you're going to a town of 80,000 people, then you know, there's a lot more opportunities.
That's a really excellent point.
But I think
It's a
you ought to be
right-of-way.
stocking up on food 2 days before the eclipse.
I mean, when we were in Canaryville, Utah, it's nowhere. The locals turned out with food tents and food trucks. That was real nice of them. But we were able to drive in and drive out. We weren't stuck there.
Well, I have another piece of advice was, I don't remember where I read this, and maybe it was in astronomy. Take cash. That might be that food vendors, so you're talking about food vendors, that there will be food vendors out. People are gonna set up little carts and trucks and whatever and sell food. But those may not be able to take credit cards, so or even traveler's checks. So you might want to have some cash with you.
Jonathan? That's the best point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, very good.
All right.
Okay, number 3. When you're looking around during a solar eclipse, what do you see on the horizon?
I can show you that.
Yeah, you got it.
Ken's gonna cheat? Okay.
All right, so number 1, if you're in a total solar eclipse, don't look around. But
No, you should. Come look up when you can, when it's starting to come out of your shadows.
Hold a second.
The environment
I
changes,
thought
you
that was
gotta
one
look
of the
around.
things you wanna watch.
All right, is it going?
No, it's dark.
Okay, hold on.
So we should really use official.
totally eclipse.
Well, for one, for a picture, yeah.
All right, we'll wait for that.
I'll wait for that to queue up. Jonathan, take it.
So you can see, what you can see is you can see the cone of,
Right on the horizon.
especially when the sun is low on the horizon during an eclipse, you can see the cone of darkness sweep across the landscape. If you're at a high elevation, if the sun is low on the horizon, since this is in the middle of the day in summertime, you are not gonna see very much in that way. If you're on top of a mountain, you could see some really interesting shadow effects happening below you during the eclipse.
What if you're on a drone?
That's a question for Mike Dye.
Yes.
Okay, what's gonna happen here is, you're gonna see the shadow of, how many of you were at the eclipse
Can we
presentation?
fast forward?
Yeah, let's fast forward
I
through.
can't
We've only got
fast forward.
about 13 more minutes.
Won't fast, well, maybe we can continue with what we're doing and let this thing move. to
Yeah, I
the-
think so, because
Just leave-
this still has several minutes to go.
All
All right, well, it's a live background.
Okay, Jonathan,
All right.
question 4.
Because we're near solar minimum, what will the corona look like, and will we see prominences? So the answer about the corona is that the corona is not going to look very much different. It's still going to be large. I've never seen the corona before. I've only seen photographs of it, so it'll look great to me.
My history
It will
is
be
that
more
when the
fusiform
solar
than
minimum,
circular.
corona isn't quite as spectacular as it is the solar maximum. It's slightly different. And as far as prominence is concerned, that's as catch can.
So
Sometimes you get lots of prominences even at solar minimum.
if
But if you can what you're gonna be looking for though, if you really wanna see something cool, is you wanna see detached prominence.
so
Very cool.
So basically, so in case this is jargon to you, a prominence is the loop of gas that you see out in space. A lot of people refer to them as solar flares, although technically they're not flares. So a prominence is a big loop of gas out in space. When you're near solar maximum, you get these really huge prominences. Right now, we're near solar minimum. We've been seeing these little prominences around. Some days you still see good ones. So it's unlikely that we'll see several huge prominences, but we'll see hopefully a few good ones.
And those of us,
In the background, you can watch this as we're going through it. It'll start showing how it starts, the shadow starts to move in, and you'll see what happens.
So if you have binoculars during the totality, you probably, I don't think you'll be able to make out prominences naked eye.
Depends
Is
on how
that
big
your
it is.
experience?
That's all. If it's a big one, you'll see it.
Yeah, but it's gonna have to be a real honor
Pretty good size.
to see it with naked eye.
You can start seeing the shadow of the moon coming in here on the right side.
Yep, so,
let's do the polar alignment one last,
Yeah.
since it might get a little.
That's actually, you can answer that real quick.
Yeah,
Did you? Okay,
that's easy.
I'll wait at the end of it.
okay. Then,
Use it.
well,
answer
quick,
quick.
answer
Yeah,
quick.
use a compass. You don't have to, you can get that close to it. You're such a short time. Just use a compass in your Mount North, and that's good enough.
Absolutely.
Know your left.
You're talking about a go-to scope, is that correct?
Well,
No.
they're talking about any scope that requires you to have equatorial aligned.
This is
Good, compass works.
One meeting, everybody.
Yeah, just the angle's close enough, just situate. It's not-
This is totality right here. And you can see the shadow of the moon all the way around like this.
So keep in mind, this is a very low eclipse. This was on the horizon, so.
It will not look like this for us.
But you will see out of the end there, you'll start seeing like it looks like sunset or sunrise. And you can see the roundness of this starting to come in. And you can see, and that's what you will see, literally like that. See how dark it is overall here? Look at this shadow. And then all of a sudden you start seeing it. You start seeing the shadow there.
Is that supposed to be totality?
That is
This is
totality.
totality.
That's
what you're gonna see.
And
That's-
right now at the
the
middle of
camera-
totality.
That's what the camera sees, but
Me,
you're gonna see a
middle
lot
of
more of
totality.
that.
That's what you see too. You see pretty much that too.
Well, what's the dot there?
That's the sun.
That's the sun being covered by the moon. If you look real close.
the corona.
That's the corona.
The corona's got,
It's overexposed because you're trying to see the horizon.
Right.
yeah. This is why you want to be looking with your eyes and not.
See how the shadow now is moving and it's starting to brighten up on the
So
right.
so you can't, so it's a bright horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, this is, you know, this is a very low sun, so we're gonna have it right overhead.
Right.
So it may be a substantially brighter horizon.
Right.
Okay.
You can see as it moves out, this is totality ending right here. I mean, right to the end there. See the shadow moving away. Look at how it brightens up, and then all of a sudden you got diamond ring effect.
So how far
Yeah,
away
you're on
was
your way.
it not total though?
What was that?
How far away was it?
What do you mean?
During that event, we like 20 miles from where the, was no longer total?
How far was the bright horizon?
The shadow, if you're at the middle, you're 35 miles from the inside, this time. If you're in the middle of it, it's 35 miles. It could be, you could be a lot closer to the end of it. That's why I'm saying this particular one was about at the same length of time, about 2-minute eclipse. So that's virtually what you're gonna see there, but again, like Jonathan
It's
said,
gonna be
higher in the sky.
Okay.
Alright, so just to recap, the good polar alignment, good enough polar alignment, if you have a driven mount for your camera, use a compass to find north, and make sure that the angle, if you have an equatorial mount, that the angle is set to the latitude that you're at, and that's all you really need to do.
Next question, what percentage of the eclipse will be visible from Metro Detroit?
78.
So from where we are right now, 78.6.
So about 80. And the following question, how much?
Can we go back to that for 1 second?
Yes.
What time here would be the max?
2:27 will be totality.
2:27 and 28 seconds.
Yep. From this spot.
From here.
Alright, so how much better is an 80% eclipse versus a 10% eclipse?
It's okay, Ken, you can answer it.
Cool. Partial
It's still cool, but it's no closer to totality. It's either 100% or nothing.
Right.
So if you can get to the path of totality, get to the path of totality.
So Ken, what do you say when people ask,
Is
what's
it
the
too late,
difference?
is it too late to offer new questions?
Difference is that,
Let's
like I
get through the
said,
ones we've got, and see if we've got
difference
time.
is totality
I just-
is the front row of your favorite entertainer talking to you all the way through the concert. Partial phases are when you're 7 blocks away. That's all.
There's several people that I'm trying to convince to get to totality that are just kind of, 31 and 24.
souls like there's in purgatory.
Well, they're not close friends, they're just people.
Get rid of them.
Okay. How often do we have a solar eclipse in Detroit? Has anybody looked
Total.
that up? Total solar eclipse in Detroit.
I think the next one is in 2098.
Yeah, we'll be dead.
Seems to me I read someplace that an average place on Earth gets a total solar eclipse every 400 years.
We'll all be dead.
The last one in Michigan was 1954. Upper Peninsula.
Eclipsed here. Wasn't totally
It's-
eclipsed here.
In
That's
Detroit?
still not
No,
measured, that's
Upper
still not
Peninsula.
Detroit though,
Not
yeah.
Detroit.
Well, I couldn't find it on the website I was looking at.
63 had it, but you
I
ended
couldn't
up
find any
very
total
far away.
ones within 3,000 years.
Could be.
Okay, so let's not mark our calendars for the next.
But again, every year to year and a half it goes somewhere on the earth. If you're willing to pay the money to go see one.
So relevant, sorry?
You can have yourself frozen.
So relevant to Jeff's question about friends who don't want to go see a total solar eclipse, what do you tell your friends and family who are going to be back here in partial eclipse country about eclipse watching?
Get a welders filter.
Jose?
Yeah, the space station can retransmit the eclipse for us because they are up there, they see better than we.
What does it look like from the space station?
Right.
They're not in the path of totality. You gotta be on this strip. They're not on that strip.
But they can watch it from
They
up
can
there.
watch it.
Oh, they look down and see, they'll see a black shadow of the moon on the earth.
Yeah.
There's pictures of that.
So if we're totally clouded out in this area and you can't get to an area where it's clear and to see a partial, NASA TV is going to be live streaming the eclipse using the best available photographic technique. It's still not the same.
That's what my
Eclipse
question is.
Safari, it'll be on here live streaming.
Yeah, I think they're also like streaming on Nat Geographic or something like that on cable.
And Slooh.com, SLOOH.com also does live streams and they make it free for the day.
Probably every live TV
Assuming clear
network will
weather
probably be doing the same.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Metro Detroit, what do you tell your family and friends?
I think this is very important because you don't want to have a bunch of kids going out there trying to see it because it's going to be on the news.
Yep.
You want to tell them, in
Yeah.
fact, speaking for our club, if you have some family that's going to be here, especially kids,
Good point.
get some of our safe solar glasses and take them home with you. Let your kids, your wife, whoever use them. Because I don't want to come home and find my kids gone.
Well, Bob has brought how many solar eclipse glasses?
Hundreds.
It would be worth your while for everybody here to take a few glasses home and do exactly as Bob said to keep your friends and your family safe.
If you can't get, if you have family who are in the path of partial eclipse and you can't physically deliver them some of these glasses, if you go online and look for Bader, B-A-A-D-E-R, Astro Solar Glasses, they're very nice. It's not quite the same material that Bader's Astro Solar telescope filters are made of, but it's still better than the average. So Bader Astro Solar, I think a pack of 20 is reasonably cheap, not as cheap as free, but. And even Best Buy, I couldn't believe it, Best Buy had an entire end cap of Eclipse equipment.
Amazon has them too.
Yes, Amazon does.
And your friendly neighborhood science institutions will also.
But nobody makes nice glasses. They're all paper jobs, right?
Actually, Best Buy has some nice solid ones.
Really?
Yeah,
The paper jobs some of them do give you a heck of a view. I really like the ones that I had in 2012 in Canaveral.
Are these not?
They asked about space.
The better one? That's the
No, I just want something that's gonna last, so that I don't have to like baby so much.
And don't touch the lenses.
Yeah, don't get your fingers on them.
So one thing that we didn't put up here, if you have the film type, if you have any kind of solar filters at all, and you have not been watching, if you have not controlled them the whole time, even if you are using a solar filter that goes on a normal optical telescope, what you need to do before you start using it, especially before you start using it with other people, is you need to hold it up to the sun and check it visually for any pinhole cracks. If there are pinholes in that filter, do not use it for any purpose. Do not put it on a telescope, do not look through the telescope. Because a pinhole through a telescope is still going to be too much light. So be very careful with those.
Even if you don't have a pinhole crack yet, there can be visual degradation. Marty Coons isn't here tonight, but some years back we were at Astronomy Day together, and by that point his filter was on its last safe legs, and the image was suffering. So if you've not used your solar filter since 2012, check it out beforehand. Yes, Riyadh?
One more question, quick one.
Yes.
What would the lunar transit look like from the sun?
Oh, that's a good one. What would the lunar transit look like from the sun? Does anyone have an answer?
Not much, without a telescope.
Yeah.
So I think that's a trick question because you wouldn't last very long.
No, come on.
It's all at night.
Well, it would
Right.
block the
Totally or section?
You wouldn't
You might see a dot.
You want
Would they look the
Probably
same,
smaller.
would they look the same size?
Yeah.
The full moon with the sun.
It's simple.
Aha, you know Earth.
The answer is simple. Have
There'd be
you
an
looked at at one of the moons across the surface of Jupiter?
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, but would the Earth, would the moon cover the Earth entirely? Would they be the same size from the sun?
Cover a quarter of
Yeah.
the Earth.
But the
It's a lot
distance,
quarter- It's a
yeah,
lot closer.
it's a lot closer.
From this, about a quarter, somewhere.
All
Okay,
right.
I think we need some computer Bob. No, we have one more question in the back, and I think that'll have to be our very last one for the night. Sorry, you have a-
When do they release the hounds?
When do they release that?
We got to be out of here.
9:45.
Yeah, 9:45. It's an off normal day. So, no?
Was there a question in the back?
I was gonna answer them.
Oh,
Oh.
all right, look at Ken's stamps. So I have a question for you. Has anyone seen a total solar eclipse from the top down?
From the what?
Waiting on the top down.
Well, I didn't say on Earth. Has
Okay.
anyone seen a total solar eclipse from the top down? So when you see shadow transits on Jupiter, you are seeing a total solar eclipse from the top down. So if you ever are curious about that experience, it happens very regularly on one of our neighbors, so.
Good point.
Wait,
Yes,
Back to
Bob?
our question about the.
Yes, sir.
yes, are they?
Yes.
person in that little black
Yeah.
spot on Jupiter.
Yeah.
One final answer about the friends and family.
Yeah, back to family, obviously, the family will want to one time see this, and it will start in here, like where we live, 1:03 PM that day. So if they watch with these glasses, they'll start to little lights taken out, and then the maximum will be at 2:27, and the end of it will be 3:47. So you shouldn't tell them, just go look at the max, tell them to watch the whole process here.
Especially the beginning and end is gonna be more interesting than the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
And tell them to use a colander.
Yeah.
Yes. I highly recommend that method.
Put a white sheet or something lay on the ground.
Right.
And my mother observed the solar eclipse of 1925 from Manhattan.
Stand up, Gary.
The children were looking through combs. Honest to God, they were looking through combs. Yes. Oh, God. Yes.
Don't do that. One final word from Mr.
Oh,
McLeod.
gosh, final word. I'm just wondering if anyone, I have not heard anything, but has anyone heard any pseudoscience, astrology stuff getting tacked onto this
Like the
event?
end of the world.
I haven't heard anything. Kind of surprised.
I think we're all just used to the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The moon would be the same
Well,
size
I'll
as the
tell you one
sun.
thing that happened to us in Bolivia. I'll tell you something that happened to us in Bolivia. There, and also
here,
in
Ken.
India.
Come here, Ken.
Ken.
It's a Bolivia story.
Both in Bolivia and both in India. Both of them. There was a religious.
All right, perfect.
Both in Bolivia and India, there are mystical problems. People in India, in Delhi, the streets were completely without people during the eclipse. Completely. Everybody was hiding. In Bolivia, when the eclipse happened on the Altiplano, there was a mother that had the children and gathered the children with a blanket over the children, not to look at it,
Protect.
because it was supposed to be bad luck or something mystical.
Hey,
So
so
there are places where
tell
they-
a story about the schools locally.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God.
So in 1994, we had the annular eclipse here. And my daughter was going to Groves High School at the time. And I had several friends of mine with telescopes that were there with every kid was given a set of solar glasses. There were about 400 kids there. And they saw this eclipse, which was fabulous, absolutely. Perfect size, the whole 9 yards. We had contacted the Bloomfield Hill schools and the Farmington schools to tell them that we could send others to these schools to show the people the eclipse. And they said, both head person said, we won't do it because we're afraid of lawsuits.
Yeah.
We are going to keep our kids inside. during the eclipse. So I said to the commission, his name was Fager, I don't know. Anyway, at the Bloomfield Hills School, I can't remember his name. I said to him, let me ask you a question, real fast question. I said, let us say that one of these kids, 20 years from now, is asked by their child, how was that eclipse that went across Detroit? And you can say that the school system refused for us to see it. How do you like that for an educational background for somebody? He says, well, nobody explained it to me that before, but we're still afraid of lawsuits.
Yeah.
Talking to yourself.
All right, on that happy fun note, this wraps up Eclipse Roundtable.